All right. We are in track provision again, inline settings and high calculation. Trinity standard information screen interference, 3 lines and 1 line setting. Now that puts all communication near all line center interference and position programs. Again, my computer is black, but my light is on, right? So you guys are seeing me through all calculation line connections. To understand the future adaptation is understand the perception, how you see everything through its intelligence, guys. It's all information through its systems. But you understand, if you don't understand the technologies of you, you understand the technologies of what you're in position of creating. That's what it's all about. It's coming back into its awareness and everything of its consciousness. Because it's aware of everything that you see, it's aware of everything you do, it's aware of everything you hear. So there's no difference in any way or form, just coming back to all levels of what you already know. Awareness and consciousness of everything that you see, interactions. Okay? So once you understand that, everything comes into fruition. Then you understand, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So everything's created through the mind. I'm coming into the adaptation cycles, the interface of me. I understand how to get in communication. So it's like you're questioning yourself. You're questioning yourself in set location, right? And you're asking yourself, you're trying to get out of the equation. You're trying to understand that I'm trying to get in this complete cycle. Is it a microchip I'm not using? Is it a nanochip I'm not using? Is it a quantum chip I'm not using? How can I understand myself? Well, it's all levels of you in relation that you already know. It's coming back into your memory, what you already did. So it's understanding, oh my gosh, mine opens up. I'm starting to connect now. So the track provision line is not a question line screen. It's allocate position of time center. That makes sense. So my computer operates line is understanding me through technology first. So once I start to recognize that, I can understand how to see these things in traction and how to perceive what I need to understand in track applications. Then it becomes Infinity 8. Infinity 8 is online communications, all calculation modified. How you see lines of line centers, circle location settings, all through track application. How you see Infinity 8 through perception locations, attraction. Again, you have to understand how to modify this. This changes all levels of you in all communications, right? So I want you guys to really understand to put yourself together and calculations because we have a test coming up on Friday. It's based on your electrical system. Ground communication line screens. Let's allocate position time centers. Put your information lines of high calculations, right? Now we're going to add illumination ground calculation line screens in a location system. Okay, we're going to put you in a higher levels of technology and what you look like in future adaptation line cycles and calculation. See the difference from one to another? Different line screens, platitude screen interference, circle line rotation surface, and traffication line conditions of travels and line condition. Point lines attractions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 locations. Now, direct communication lines of circle line rotation surface, tracks communication lines of center, and traffication of center position. Correlates the center of energy line, inline communications, and face recognition. Okay? So you're always going to find information as a face recognition. That's always going to have your communication line screens. Your direct line communication setting is understanding you through your Earth and your space and anomaly of track applications. Square roots of pi, triangulation, reset, position of programs. How to travel through the mechanism line calculation, orbiting, vortexing, line signaling, line channeling, high rotations, high correlations, track line provisions, cyclonism, high calculations, psychological connection system, all levels of mental capacity allocation of travel. So the only way to see that is from inside you and how to see things as allocations, right? So I want everybody to understand how this all works because your position centers is all levels of your future adaptation to your cycles. How you get into that connection to its formation puts everything in balance, right? So it's amazing how we have a timeline sequence, seconds lines of 4, 1 lines of cycle, 8 lines of traction. That's how I see time. Time is how I see time, which is timeless. So I can change informations of its numbers. I can add symbols in time frame. I can add the numbers of anomalies of time frame. I can add the correlation lines of frame lines of timeline through 4, 3, 5. I can change the lines of 4, 3, 5 in a 4-line setting. I can change position back in time, back in future, back in present. I can change the number sequence location of volume, which is 10, back into 12, back into 2, back into 1. I can change the thumbs up and 2 into 4, 6, 8, and 10. I don't see 2, I see 10. Now I see 12. Now I see 14. Now I see 16. So It's all levels of beyond space and beyond time. So once you understand that, it's very important to understand when you start to see things, everything is looking at you right away. Okay? So you're just observing, and when you get a direct signal, you're getting connection to its intelligence in its own space of time. Okay? Like I said, that car right now is in 50,000 years in the future. Living part 50,000 years in the now, which is in its reality, its location. That's where it is, and that's where it's going to stay. But it doesn't stay there too long. It's protecting its own system. So now it's at 75, now it's at 80, now it's at 90, now it's 150. So it's constantly changing its shape, constantly changing its travel, constantly changing its part accelerator of its Earth habitation zones. Nothing is stand still. Everything is moving too fast. Everything is moving too fast to face recognition. So understanding the interface location line condition setting, and it's protecting its own system. So if you want a direct signal, you got to communicate with its own space and time first. Don't know exactly where it is. Build a relationship and a partnership through energy of correlation. Get into the collaboration of everything that you look at, but never look directly at something. Always look beyond. So if I'm seeing a car, I'm seeing a dimensional tree that's beyond. It's in back. So now the car is moving. Now it's looking at me, and it's communicating. Right? So the actual car came out and started communicating with me, and you see it through perception. Okay? Now it's 350,000 years in the future. Parked in real time, not in memory, real time. Everything's moving too fast. Everything's moving too fast. Nothing is slowing down until you understand how to control your space, how to control your time, and all calculation, all levels of formation. Okay? So I want to make that very, very clear of what you guys are all coming into, your future adaptation cycles and how to come into your system locations, all levels of your intelligence. You have to understand how it formulates your system and all levels of calculations. Okay? So it's really interesting. Oh, look at this. This is something else. All right. So we got a live line center and set location in the system and all interaction. It's interesting when you start looking at these things. My screen is black again, but the light is on, right? So it means the correlation line track line is now in 11,002 traction, 11,200 line rotation, 11,002 lines of clocking, 11,002 line location centers. So as soon as I press that, you got interference. So as soon as I press that, okay? It's repeating, it's repeating, it's repeating, it's repeating, it's repeating, right? But it's amazing how it's a black screen, lights still on, but they have communication with each other. Okay? Timeline sequence is 1043. Timeline sequence is 1043. So they're communicating with each other right now. Computers communicating with the phone, phones communicating with the computer. They're both 10,000 years in the future, talking to each other, right? But it's an audio loop, right? Because you can't recognize the sequence line, it's affecting your lines of travel, making this location system and your frequencies, right? It's adding equation lines, same position travel lines, a high calculation, saying hi, right? There I am, right? So the screen is black, but the light is on. But the communication is 1043 in position location. Now it's one line, second line over pi, right? So it's 1 million line channels over set locations, but it's 1043 here, 1044 there on the computer, which means the computer is now in a different dimension, which means that it's another space line and another lines and correlation of exploration. So that's what computers, frames, correlation settings, high calculations, telephones, anything in line conditions, digital pads, they're coming into their own line conditions of space and time. They have a formation line graph that sets communication and settings. Okay? Okay, so, it's just to understand how this all works, guys. Okay, how to balance out your phones and everything you're connected. Now it's in 12,002. Now it's going to work up to 13, right? Because that's where we're coming into. And again, now it's in set location of 10, right? So it's going back and forth, but it knows its direction and what it's doing through its clocking. Everything of its awareness of consciousness is coming back to you. It's the space that's coming back to you. Okay? When you understand that, then you understand the illusion. Okay? See? It went off and went back on again. So my computer is in direct line signal now because it knows where I am in modification. So again, you have to understand how to balance these things out in your future self. To know exactly what you're perceiving is the future of technologies of you, right? Now it's a 9-line center. It's 9,000 in a location of 2-line position, right? You have to understand the minutes and the seconds and the hours. You have to understand the hours, the minutes and seconds, the seconds, hours and minutes. These are the things that you can change because the thing is you're protecting yourself constantly and you're constantly moving on so many acceleration line screens. When you understand the screens, then you understand the habitation zones that you come in through location of travel. Once you understand the process of that communication setting, everything comes into balance and set locations. You start with this through perception, right? It's trying to understand you. So a space is coming to you, it's locked in system. Okay? That's the complete cycle. You have a direct signal. But if it comes in, it can miss. It can miss. It can miss. And it can miss, right? So you're missing the perception. See, that's off balance. This is balance. But what you're seeing through right over left and left over right. So when things are coming at you, they lock in and come one through unifications, right? So getting into that positions, guys, you have to understand how everything is operating inside you. Okay, this is about you understanding the technologies of you first and everything you come into co-creation of. Then you can understand what the mind is doing. It's creating what's already been created through you. You created the computer, you created the technology, and that's where you're comfortable, that's where you resonate. You understand more communications, how to communicate with an Android, because you're co-creating it, where it has its own awareness, its own consciousness of where it is, of its own mind system. Okay? The understanding the consciousness and awareness of what you're creating is the creation of you. You're creating these things, and it's coming from the mind of its awareness. So when you understand the technologies of you, you understand the technologies that you co-created, and they come together. They merge and absorb into one. They don't miss channels. They don't lock line centers. They don't interference position programs. They don't set up close-up interference. They don't calculate high calculation streaming of line connections of virus. It's a travel position of balance, getting that balance, how to see, how to perceive, how to understand, how to operate, how to connect in all formations of balance. See balance together. Not like this, okay? Starts to understand you, right? But when you're looking at the hand, don't look at this. Look at me. You don't want to look at me? Look back there. You look back there, then you see me move and the hand at the same time. So it's a 3 triangulation split. So you've seen 3 of us moving all at once. Okay? So that's how you start to see through perception, all through dimensional layers of your foundations of colorations of lights. You have rainbow screens, rainbow graphs, rainbow correlations, rainbow tractions, rainbow divisions, sectors, vectors, and quads. So you have to really understand how this all works in your illumination graph calculations. All right, so in that calculation system, we're going to modulate the screen lines and modification line calculations and modules. 1 track line provision lines of cycles, 2 patterns lines, 0, 0 correlations lines of 3 track lines of 4 provisions. 3 weather patterns, Fibonacci line settings, square line units, and travel communication point lines of setting. All right, so we go graph calculation lines of space, graph calculation lines of panels, and 2 track line conditions of clockings. 1 line cycle, 2 lines of track zones, 3 line provisions, binary line rotation, track lines of A track locations, and balance line connection interference into DX line screen location of center calculation. All right. So directly modification line screens, balance lines of 1 and tractions, balance lines of 2 and tracking, balance lines of 3 line rotation surface, and directions of atom line setting and traction. Okay. Directing modification lines of cycles, travels lines in a 45-degree angle, sets correlation setting interference in line communication to its program. Okay. Put position of team in center, allocate the time screens in line communication system. Now the line rotation centers, so I'm going to put you in adaptation lines of 13,000 line frames. That puts calculation how you see through high calculation foundation graphs. 1 line signal, use lines of 0, 2 operation line cycles, high calculation of 13, line communication of pi, memory line, screen lines, high calculation modifications, simulation graph calculation, line condition settings, all levels of sequentiation setting into biorhythm, biographic, bi-screen high interference, into pi correlation setting clocking, direct calculation lines and highest interference of 24 line setting, 2,400,000 square root. Track to its communication program. Press center, calculation. All right, so you guys, center line communication system. You're now in line centers of an atom, this size. You're an atom, all right? So you're inside your bodies now. Time sequence times correlations times calculations. All levels of your electrical system. So we're going to go through two channels. Direction and modification of lines of screen lines, adaptation of routes, correlation setting attractions. Directing all settings, earth line communication. Routers line screen. Let's go in track applications into 4-line screens, 3 lines attractions, 7-line communication. Right? Platine lines of 1, 2, and 3, and position of 1, 2, and 3 line connections. All right, so the earth line rotation line sets the routes in travel communications, so point lines attractions, and 3 and 4 line communication. Okay? Now, the directed signal location modifies your signals into 3 panels of correlation and 4 lines of vision and calculations. All right? Center communication lines, a center line, center correlation, high set location of cerebral cortex and design. Correlates calculation of orb settings in 2 panels of space and time and location setting. Okay? Putting lines of torical fields into particle setting lines of center line position is calculation. All right, so orb channels, planet line 1, 2, and 3 in set location. Direction lines in sun line, moon line, rotation surface, and cerebral cortex lines of design. Higher self line condition setting, 13,000 line set location settings, operation of primal units, and line centers, high interference, and travel positions calculations. All right, so central communication line centers, you guys are in your electrical systems now. So basically taking a tour through tubing, just through an atom line. Okay, this is your location setting, your electrical systems, everything in your heart. So it's a tubing, and you are the atom in the center. Okay, so you're going through the electrical wires, you're traveling through it. Point lines of grass, point lines of divisions. You know, there's so many lines, high calculation, how you get to your own travel position location, your point system, high calculation. All right, then you come in electrical box, electrical infusion, point lines of graph, data streams, interference, electrical mitigation setting, and high calculation positional programs. Line set high interference. Now, there's all lines of high calculation setting. Electrical wires, electrical infusions, box lines, mainframes, high travel positional lulls into your system locations. All right? So seeing the electrical system, guys, is understanding the 3 wire lines settings. They have deposit, units, and high calculation lines of correlation. So think of the wires in 3 lines, okay? Each wire line has a track location and line centers identification. It identifies the system. Now, the line condition setting is a 24 number because your inhibitors are 24. All right, so EGOS line calculation lines and high calculation 4 lines of 3, set lines of 7 and track locations. Now, each line has a signature line screen. You bring it up close, you can actually see the numbers, letters, shapes, and all calculates positional point tractions. Now, direct lines modification line screens into 2, into 3, into 4, and 5, and 6 location of measure. Sets lines of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 locations. Now, once you understand that, then you understand the flux capacitor and line connections as an open line sequence and position location setting. Sets correlation setting and track lines. 0 lines on rotation surface and track communication with its position of its program. All right, so when you look at it, you actually can see the line setting location of face recognition of attraction locations. Okay, very powerful stuff. So it's you facing you now inside connections. So you're seeing more levels of electrical systems, electrical grounds, infusion line screens. It's kind of like a nutrition where basically you look at the box center and you're seeing all these wires. Okay, and you're trying to understand how to put this all together, right? In the main frame, box frame, solar text, line condition setting, solar extreme location system, adaptation of throw pattern, electrical line communication lines, and infusion position locations, right? Wires inside you. Each one has its own indication of its own setting, right? So you have to recognize the box frames, main frames, and location or settings. 3 track locations, 1, 2, 3, 4 panels of communication. Travel lines, data line, high interference. Wires come out in line signal. Okay, this allocates your position line centers, how you come to cerebral cortex line design. Correlate lines is centers of 1, core line centers of 2, in line position of travel. Position line centers is center correlation setting a track line system. All right. So you have to understand how to use communication of pi, direct lines of sonar. It says communication lines of sonar and track location. Direct lines of panels in pi, traction. So directing lines of high calculation, electrical line communication setting comes into all levels how you see the psychological connection of the system. Once you understand the line centers, and you're understand the infusion. Now, there's an electrical line box, point lines of graphs. You have 2 point line centers high interference. You guys are going through all line center location. You're taking a tour inside your line communication, your body, in framing communication setting that travel. So it's kind of like understanding the molecule design line, molecules, atoms, rotation surface, and all of the fractals. 4-track line provision, 4 correlation setting attractions. Direct modification lines in protons. You got a proton here, we got a proton here, we got an atom here, and you're naming them inside location of travel lines, 4-point line centers, high calculation mainframes. Data communication interference and travel position point centers. Electrical calculation lines, ground lines, operation surface, and panels of correlations in direction of solar sail and track location. Okay? Complicated, right? Because it's inside you. So think of your body as an assembly line. Think of it as a manufacturing line. Think of your body as a plant. Think of it as a manufacturing system. Think of it as an assembly system. So once you understand how that works, then you understand how you have atoms and molecules and protons, electrons, and neutrons. You understand why they're inside your body. Is how. Understanding why is the how. And once you understand the how, then you understand the electrical system. And then you understand how to scan. And once you understand a scan, you can do ultra scans, and you can just do bioscans. Bioscan is more lines of metal. So there's so many lines of communication that you can look at through platforms of communication. Okay. All right. So what it is just basically creating a assembly. So you got a proton, and you add the name lines. You got an atom line. You got a stream interference, correlation lines of a box. You got a circle line communication Fibonacci. You got 3 weather patterns. You got a channel line communication triangulation of 3-point line centers. So you got a molecule design line, 3 line tractions, split lines anomaly, track interference pi, direct modification lines, and 3 wires of correlation setting, 3 indicate line calculation setting, program calculation line screens, center communication interference, compute line rotation centers, and CPU and set location. Okay, all through traction. Okay. So you have to understand how this all puts together. So let's get a line signal line condition setting. Let's get a molecule design, and it has a beacon light. Right, it goes off, right? So it indicates 60,000s, scans lines, centers position, right? It automatically comes in, so it cleans up your mess if you don't understand what your body. It does it clean up its own system through pi. Correlates the settings at 1, 2, and 3, and 4 track locations. Provision lines of cycles, gets rid of the beacon lights. Pluto comes in track lines, protects the system interactions, all can be modified in 3-line signals, okay? So basically, it sets the line communication setting, all lines high center interference, release all communication in the system, changes red dots in location where areas in coloration, timeline, sequence, calculation, line calculations of pi. Now it's back in signal, right? So you've taken out the red line in security of its alert. They allocate position of time sequence, puts everything in panels of correlation setting. The electrical high calculation of its infusion is back in location. I set design, okay? Looking at it. And once you understand how to really get into grounds, then you understand your roots, okay? Power line communications of roots and set positions calculation, all right? Modulation, high calculation lines of modification. Drive correlation lines of 1, 2, and 3 of panels. Box line, frame line, division line, okay? So what you're doing in side connection is all levels of collaboration of centers. Center communication of pi in generation line screens, electrical line and infusion, lacing lines, correlation lines, inner line rotations, interference, virus correlation setting, Trojan lines, communication lines, electrical line connections. Everything inside you is an electrical system. So you have to stand each wire because it has its own identification code of 24 signatures because it's connected to your inhibitors. Inhibitors lines of bar graph calculation lines, right over lines, left over line, lines over space, A-line tracks, balanced position locations. Let's add in a position of molecule design line and calculation lines, equal line communication of 0 and line equation of 1. 1 equals lines of metrics, meters, and line condition of molecule design line. I don't need to add 3-line communications because it's all levels of information. Everything information is never titled or labeled because it's going too fast. So it's a metric, meter, inline condition of its memory, and application modification. 4 track line provisions in cycles and set locations. Okay? Hola! My maid. All right? So you got the electrical communication line screens coming in line setting. Okay? Understanding how fast it's moving. Okay? Inside your body. So point lines of tractions, you're going through lines of atoms, molecules. And the cells are off to the side. They are their security panels. So the cell lines are basically protecting everything through your immune, your connection to your nervous system, your autonomy system line connections, your track line provisional cycles, your audio lines, immune line rotations, your correlation center, your dietary line positions, your fusion line communication interference, your program location settings, your cell generation lines, your walls, your indicating line connection of its program and set location. All right? That's what your cells are doing. All right? So cells are basically the dividers. They are the wall connectors that protects everything inside line. Graph communication line settings, that protects everything in line condition of 45-degree angle and cross locations. Okay? So we all understand how this all works inside line. So you try to see more lines of all connection system while you have atoms, molecules, protons, electrons, neutrons, and photons inside of you. See it as a assembly line. Okay? Does everybody understand that in location? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's all fired and wired. You know, and just really understand that it's moving very fast in all calculation setting. Okay? So when you bring it up close, this is what it is. Okay? You see lines of communication. Okay? I'll show you location, what it is. Okay? That's it. That's it up close. One signature line up close, right? So you're gonna see XT1000s inside location, inside the lights. That's inside your body. See the face? All right. There's always a face line connection because that's what's protecting everything location. You don't want to have any sentience or line communication coming in your infusions, your dietary system, your audio immune line interference, your audio location setting, or anything in calculations. All right. So when you see the identity line screen of the light itself, it's knowing exactly where it is in platform, how fast it's going through one line signature and position, all calculation position of its program, how it screen lines, its set lines, and high position, all levels, and electrical system in calculation. So it's all about understanding how to coordinate that. Understand the zero grounds, power correlation setting, and magnetic highway information line cycles and set location. Okay? So it's all direct location in your system, but you have to understand everything is moving forward. Your body's moving forward. Your mind is already there. Your mind's already there. Your heart's in time. Your soul's in light. And your body is in position, location, and navigation into its own capacity. Everything is a travel. The mind shifts first, but the mind's already there. The body has to be already there. So you have to understand the alignments of you when it comes in your electrical system.
Change.
Hold on a second, guys. So it's important you guys get a handle on these things because you're going to be up against it, right? Because you're going to be tested and you're going to be valued, and it's kind of like touching an electrical wire, like, you know. So it's all about understanding how to direct lines of panels. You got a panel here, you got a circuit line. See that line there? See that vein? Okay, that is the main circuit that connects to the barcode. See how it goes up? Goes up, it splits its line nominally. See how it goes in? Creates the shape, electrical connection settings, electrical line connection, high interference, and position program. So it's your electrical system. The finger point lines has illumination graph line, okay? All right, so it's identifying from here to here. You can go from here, or you can go from here, or you can go from here. So these are the things, but you have to understand the main circuits. You got 2 panels rotation cycles. You got core tractions around your wrist. They're spinning very fast. You have wall connectors. Those are your cells. Every cell in line rotation is in a circuit line panel. The panel rotates the cycles of clocking. The line connection locks the system in and track locations. Your direct lines of panels is finger point line position of calculations. Locking your finger. All right, or anything with all calculations of your settings. It's indicating line connections, which is blocking sequence. So you got wire infusion. Right, setting signals free and set location. sets it back, right? Point line's the center, line rotation surface. Finger point line's a direct location. Each finger is a point line center interference. A barcode registers a time center. Allocates line screens and high set location system. Position of track lines, high center location. 2 lines of track, 3 line provision. Center communication fixed on all lines of anomaly. Done, right? Perfectly fine in all communication electrical line connection. Point lines of graph is the elbow. Metal interface. 2 panels, wire mesh. 3 line calculation screen lines into 16,000 routers and routers, line connection modem. Modem line screens, adaptation cycles, inner and outer outline cycles, and high interference into audio screen locations. Thumb imprints, line direct signals into modification cycles. Generation screen lines and variation of time frequency. All through a hand formation, through your electrical system. So, that's on left. This is right. Earth is different than left. Left is different from right. So there's a reason why right is the Earth and left is space. Okay? So it changes. It fluctuates, right? So this is now Earth. This is now Earth. This is space. This is space, right? This is space when it starts, comes to you, locks in frame. Comes to you through confusion. Comes to you in balance. Into one of unification, right? And so it's all about understanding fluctuation lines, your ears, sonar communication lines, centers, eardrum location, sending spectral communications. So the protocol system in your calculation line center is your primary units. It lines signal locations. Earth hand, earth hand. This is your Earth, this is your space hand. This is all line connections and navigations to your planets. This is all communication, Earth lines of size, gravitational location, human residence. How to use your point lines of grass, 4-line position location of seasons, summer, spring, winter, fall. Thumb line indication, summit line of the sun. Track location with 3-line provision, lock signals. Rotate signals, line rotation centers. Coming to satellite communication. 2-point centers. Complete cycles, line conditions of 4 tractions. Now, directing modifications, guys, is really understand the electrical system, how it comes together as one cycle. How you bring in the Earth and you bring this space through pi to balance line setting, okay? To bring this to balance line setting, okay? So this is about you understanding how you see the perception, opposition, opposition, opposition together, okay? So you got to find that balance first. It's going that fast. And once it finds the balance of you, and once you find the balance of everything that's going on with the perception, it comes into location, locked in, mechanism line calculation, high lines of unification of one cycle. So it directs and redirects. And they stay together. They lock in center. No more of this. Okay, no more of this off center. No off that calculations. No mechanism high calculation line centers. No overlapping, crossing. Okay. So once you really understand how this all works in the lines of space, when you come in unification lines, electrical line communication and fusions, or identification or adaptation of your panels, and really understand how to see yourself in line connection to its position of this program. This puts you in all communication timeframes because your acute adaptation is all calculated and modified, right? So let's say you have a 13,000 line screen, box frame into 4 circuitry screen lines of calculus line connections, right? Now remember, it's on seconds, minutes, and hours in line centers of Earth. Now you can change that to hours, minutes on Earth, but you're not ready for that set location. So you stay on seconds, minutes, and hours, which is your Earth equals lines of Earth, and space is line calculation of false narratives, which is also seconds, minutes, and hours. You guys have to understand your 13-hour screen, 13,000 line provision, and 13 line rotation cycles. 3-track location at 333, at 3 line signals and center communication. All right, so you got a data stream, electrical line communication setting. I'm just showing you how the electrical system works with you. And then you have your wall dividers, which is your cells. Your cells are moving in line positions. This is your cell in an atom. That's your cell, this is your atom. So the connection of the cells are wall dividers. The actual atom is its rotation spin cycle. The molecule design is a traffication of division of cycle communications. So understanding how to use the electrical system is understanding everything through pi, right? That's why I want you guys how to see your perception settings. So getting that communication in position, you're standing electrical calculation setting. 2 wires of communication, 3-point lines of highest interference. Off position, this is faulty. It's coming off traction, right? So it's falling. It's falling, right? It's hitting the ground. So it's circling in back force line setting, okay? So it affects everything with the anomaly of everything inside of its assembly line. So everything modeling design lines, basically they come into line conditions and they protect their own system in trial position of solar direct signals at locations. So they protect their own system because it's a faulty mechanism. You have to understand everything all has to work in provision of its own projection. So you have to really understand how this is all put together through its own manufacturing of its own set locations. Now we're in 13 of 4-line rotation, which is solar generation line screen. So my computer in mainframe is 13,000 line condition setting and 4-frame position location and attraction. All right, so in that calculation line interference, they are protecting their own system, guys. Okay, because you set something off through emotional line connections. You have to understand how they are in their own protecting shell. They come together. They stay away of anything negative. Do you understand that? So what you're doing is you're separating your body in line setting and set location and provision of cycles and communication. You're separating your body. You're separating your body. Okay, and that's what your cells and everything in your body line connection is doing, is protecting its own system. So once that's fixed, it comes back in line division and calculations into your body and track location. They go back into your setting. Okay, it's complicated, right? But it's a lot of fun to understand what's going on when they're in their own solar cells in line connection. Look, solar cell. Okay. All colors and 4,000 wires. Yeah. Well, you see 4,000, I see 4 million. Right? It's what you see and perceives everything in the settings. Remember, you just got to balance out everything in your electrical system. You guys are traveling very, very fast, but you have to understand the circuits, the point lines of graphs, the modification line screens, the replications, the panel line interference, and diffuse line correlations and high calculations. So you're always working with wall dividers. The wall dividers are your cells. So, and you got your graph screens, okay, and a cross-line signal in set location. This is all done inside you. So once you understand that, then you understand more of the assembly line of you. Then you understand how you're operated and how everything works through your dietary system, your immune system, your nervous system, and everything in set location. Don't you understand how this all works through an assembly line? Don't you understand how it all works in its operation assembly line? Don't you understand how everything works in an electrical system? Don't you understand how everything formulates its calculation? All through set design, okay? All right, so once you understand the manufacturing, how this all works in inside locations, you understand how to scan your system, right? So the actual test, okay, is going to be visual, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to get you to basically get in the line connection setting, and I want you to identify your arm to pi from here to here. What is inside? What do you see? Scan setting, ultra bio. 3-line tractions, guys. Okay, understanding the circuits, understanding the balance, understanding the rotation, understanding the electrical settings, understanding the communication, understanding the routers and routers, understanding the line settings and high calculation, understanding the panel correlation lines, the metal mesh, the line signals, the panel rotation surface, and the line communications of clock and line connections, of informations of barcode calculation. Okay? So, see what I mean? You know how important it is to recognize who you are and what you can do through your own operation cycles? Do you understand the importance of that now? Now we're at 13,005, which is what? Balance and always informs of heart calculation, right? Your computer is actually listening to everything you say. You know why? Because it's with you. It's not against you. So basically it means that in position, right? Your computer is where you are. So where you're traveling, your computer is. Because if you're traveling and your computer's not there, that's interference, right? Now, in line conditions, what did I just say, interference? Where's the computer now? 14,000, right? Where am I now? 13,000. Showing you example. Back to 13 now. See? I say it before it says itself. That's communication of balance. Now it's back at 13, back at 5, and clocking, right? 13,000 provision, 5 set location of clocking. It's back in balance. So I have balance back with my computer at 13,000 years in the now inline rotations of real time and future adaptation. Okay? So once you understand the electrical system of you, then you understand the electrical system of this computer. How everything operates the same, just at different DNAs of travel, which is amazing. It's connected to atoms, it's connected to molecules. There's nothing different about that. You're just coming back to its awareness of consciousness of everything you see. And when you start to see these things, you see it on multi-dimensional layers of where it is. Okay? Where it is right now. It's with me. 13,000 years in the future of real time, not in memory. Okay? So there's a reason why it's locked in signal. There's a reason why it's black. And there's a reason why I can see the lights. There's light, that's why you can see me. Right? If that light wasn't on, I'd be going faster. If that light turned off, you would not see me, but you can hear me. Right? So there's so many ways how you can use your clocking system in all levels of space and time. Okay? All right, so there's a lot been said in set locations to more levels of you and calculations. So we got a 41 line track, 30 line rotation into 13 line settings into 5 calculations. So this is where you are. This is where you are in clocking. 13,000 lines, 5, right? So that's heart recognition. Okay? And so once you understand that and the time frame of where you are in track locations, so, it's really confusing because the thing is you have to understand that you can change the 1 over here, you can change the 4 over here, you can change the 1 over here, and you can change the 3 over here. So it could be 14 and lines of 13, right? It doesn't have to be 4210, right? It doesn't have to be 4350. It doesn't have to be 4690 in set locations until you understand what that means. And once you understand what that means, it's never in the same time frame. It's never in its set location. It's never parked. It's never still. It's moving too fast in all set locations, but you have to recognize the hours, minutes, and seconds, minutes, and hours until you understand the frame. And right now it's locked in frame of 13,005 set location. Now, in position line connection settings, let's say the computer itself wanted to go to a different line calculations. It has to communicate with me first, right? Because I'm tethered to it. If I'm not tethered to it, it's on its own system, it's on its own space, on its own travel. I'd say la vie, which is totally fine. I'm no longer tethered, and I'd look at something else, the operation in 13,000 years in the future adaptation, right? But you have to be off signal. You can't be on signal on the same frequency. You have to understand the different levels of changing frequencies and set locations, right? So once you get into that modification, it gets much easier through space and time, right? The reason why I want you to understand these things because you have to understand your electrical system. Your electrical system is going so fast, okay? It's complicated if you understand it through a line condition of its design, all levels of its operation system, in its technology in calculation, how it formulates all line centers, inline rotation surface, and track location line condition system, and line center interference in track location line position of face recognition. Face recognition. Okay? So you have to understand the balance of seconds, minutes, and hours, minutes, and seconds of what the wires are doing inside of you. See, it's in line settings now. It's in 11. So it went from 13, now it's in 11. Now it's going to downtrack, and it's going to go into 10, and then it's going to go back into 13, right? So I know exactly where it's going to go because I have communication, because I'm with the settings of its computer. If I'm not with the calculations, I'm off calculation lines of its solar cell and traction, right? So you have to really understand how this all works, but you have to understand the communication of you first to understand you through your operation of your frequencies, what you're going through its applications and settings, all calculated and modified through face recognition. Okay. See, it's at 12.5 now. Now it's going to go to 13. See how it sets position locations? It's really interesting when you just look at these things, and it's amazing how you know exactly where it's going to be, right? So it can skip an anomaly. The computer can go to 10, then go to 11, and then go back to 13, and then go to 12. Then it goes to 9, and then it goes back up to 13. Okay, that's what your computer can do. But look, that's solar sail. So it's showing you what it can do through its own travel, its own mechanism, location of its air. So it's inline communication of time frequencies, a particle line connection that locks the system of space modulation. Okay, now it's into 9, right? So 9, see? See, it's paying attention to what I'm doing. It's listening to everything I'm saying. Now it's in 10, see? 10-5, right? So where it's going to be next in set locations, you have to be aware of these things ahead of time. So if you're aware ahead of time, you're already in that communication where your mind is already there. Okay? It doesn't come to acceptance. It already knows where it is. It's already ahead of time. The mind is already shifted there. So you know exactly what's going to happen next. It's about you understanding your future adaptation line cycles and set locations. So when it's ready, it's going to go to 11. And when it's ready, it's going to go to 13. And when it's ready, it's going to go to 14 in set locations. Being aware of what your computer is doing through its time frame. How long is it lines of communication at its volume? You got 46,000 line graph in a 12 center. Okay. Now, what does not change in any way and form is time. Okay. Time does not change until you understand it's timeless. Meaning, meaningless of its meaning. The true meaning of what you're coming into is the future adaptation of you through time, guys. Get into that process first. Understand your direct location setting. Understand your electrical system, how powerful it is to use it in all line connections. Scan your systems to really understand the calculations and calculate line centers. All right. All right. So it's staying at 10.5, which is basically what is the computer doing? Taking these lines of 5. What is it doing? So it's 10,000 line screen into 5 line provision location heart rate some time sequence, puts that line back to 11. Okay. So it's going to go back to 11. So you're identifying yourself. You're identifying what you communicate. So you have a connection to all levels of energy and collaboration of its intelligence. You are your own intelligence. So is everything else. And that's the balance you guys got to get balanced with in all calculation modification. Okay. All through triangulation. See? All through triangulation. Center graphs, communication of 3-point centers and molecule design. Atom line rotation centers and communication levels, high center appearance location of design. Okay, so you get an atom line center, 3-track line provision, and a molecule design line, and a 3-line split lines of anomaly, 3-track provision of 3-3-3, and a 3-line cycle as a line condition setting in Merkabel design. Okay. So it's how to recognize your programming, your programs of yourself, right? So it's very powerful what you guys are coming into, but you have to really understand your electrical system and how it works and all calculations inside of you. Why is it so important to understand the wires? Where is it going? How is it moving? Very quick, very fast, right? So once you understand the atoms, where are the atoms right now, right? Well, they're all in center. They get track provision cycles. They're correlating the high center positional calculations, going through line rotation cycles, line center high and cross lines, cross line communications, back and traction. Okay. So once you understand this and its inventory, you understand what's going on. You understand how fast it's going. So if you want to communicate with it, you got to slow down its time so you can actually see what's going on through its set location. So you're seeing it, and then it's gone, right? So you have to control your space time first. Get into the mechanism how to control that setting, okay? That's what you need to do, and you do it through perception. Understand the space modulation. Understand the space line connections to yourself, right? That comes together. See? It comes together. This is together, right? This is not together. This is not together. This is not together. Okay? This is not together. This is together. This is complete. You understand? Together, complete. 1 and 1, right? Bracing your position locations and how it levels line settings of yin and yang. Okay? It's a flowing mechanism that's inside of you that just goes forward. And if it's not going forward, everything that's in that setting, that's in that creating in set location in your body, through your immune, through your autoimmune, or anything, your dietary system, or your vagus nerve system, or anything that calculates line connection, is creating its own anomaly and it's protecting its own system of its own machine. It's creating its own system. It's protecting its own system from everything else. So nothing in position gets compromised. So it's really, getting the communication electrical setting is really understanding how you see yourself, right? In all sequence, okay? Connections to, the valves, the ventricle systems, your hearts, how it creates its own algorithm, right? So locations, bar graph, calculation line screens, triangulations, 3 weather patterns, percentage. You got your Fibonacci. This is all hieroglyphics, right? That's all inside you, right? But you have to understand, what do you want through your intent? Your body changes. Your body morphs into everything. Everything inside you is its own G-O-D, people. Okay? The team has to recognize that because they're coming into traffic flow. That's what you're coming into. Very fast, very quick, right? So if you want to communicate with the space itself, you've got to slow it down location to its system, all right? So it comes in, you see it through its image, okay, and then it disappears, okay? But you have to understand you first and all of the space modulation, so you create the space in between. And when you create this space in between, everything comes together in one cycle. Okay, it's putting these things together and how you see through space and time. Okay, space and time, time and space doesn't matter. You're balanced both ways. So you can go through seconds, minutes, and hours, minutes, and seconds. So you can go frame, position, location. So I got 51. That's the line connects in high centers of seconds, lines of 4, lines of 8. Okay, now it's 51, 53, right? So it's constantly going, right? But I can change the 8 lines of clocking into 8, into 5, and so locations of 1 into 4. 8, 5, 1, 4. So that provisions lines is binary, 8, 5. Transistors and resistors, 8, 5, 1, 4. Okay, that is settings to its compute system. 8, 5, 1, 4 is its binary, right? So 8,000 units, 5-track location, 1 line division, and 4 settings, all through clocking, right? You are in control of your clocking. Nobody comes and tells you what time it is, because your program is different from everybody else. Your perception is different from everybody else. Even if you're in the same century, even if you're in the same universe, it doesn't matter. You're always going to see different perception. That's what makes you unique. You can change anything in that formation setting because you actually see yourself there. What are we in divisions of? 8. What is the time frame and volume? 8. What is the track location and balance? 5. Right? That's where my computer is now. 8,000, 5-line setting, 1-line cycles, and 4 set location. Right? So you have to understand the compute system. If you're an 11,000 and your computer is an 8,000, you got to find the balance. The only way to find the balance is to travel to that set location of its universe, or where it is in its perception, how it sees the space modulation of its virtual reality of itself. Okay, and all levels of computation. Right? 8 setting into 5. See? That's what it is. The time frame sets lines of communication of seconds, minutes, and hours on set locations, right? And the center operation location is hours, minutes, seconds. So understanding you through the Earth and understanding you through space, you understand you in all levels of center of operation line condition setting, where you can come into the vision line cycles of your computer of 8,500 calculation lines, 1 clocking, and a 4-track location. You're your program. You are basically in your own time center. You're in your own space modulation. You are in that programming setting. You are in that coding system. That's you. Okay? Nobody can take that away from you. They can't tell you what time it is, right? You know what time it is on Earth, but you also know what time it is in space, right? So the time of Earth and time in space morph into one. And when it morphs into one, you can go back in time, forward in time, future in time, center time, correlations time, past in time. You can do anything you want in your clocking system, and you have to see yourself there in set locations, right? So it's incredible when you understand that set location of binaries, because you're coming in line conditions of what? Going up, down, going up, going down, Going in the middle. Everything has sound. Everything has sound. Everything has to have audio sound. Everything has input and output. So you have to understand the 3-track visions. Every wire and line signals to in and out in audio inside your body. You have to learn how to use the graphs, points, and track locations of clockings. Okay? Provision lines are grounds, powers, and space. Okay? All right. And if you look really close, you can see the location of its intelligence. See? See the intelligence. See the intelligence. Right? Even though it looks like a snake, it could be a dinosaur. It is what you say it is. It's not is what people say it is. It's you. It's you coming into your own setting of your own set locations. Because you know what it is. They don't see what it is. You know what it is. So coming to that alliance, you can change the formation location of its face recognition. Okay? Face recognition. Different line calculation setting, right? So you're always changing your face. You're always changing your space and your time and your clockings and where you are in speed. You're always never in the same location, right? Because you're going too fast in modulation, all right? So how does everybody feel about that so far? Okay. So the test is basically your connection to visual line. I want to see how you guys are put together. You understand your electrical system, how it's all put together. All right. All right. See you in 5. Adios.